Right, today we're going live to talk about reflectors. This past couple of weeks, we've been talking about the five different energy types in human design. So we've covered generators, manifestors, and projectors. And today is the fifth type, who is a reflector. And they are the most rare and most unique energy type in human design. And so it's such a wonderful thing to talk about and help women and people understand what it means to be a reflector and how they can show up in their most authentic selves. So I'm bringing Jen on. We go live every Monday to talk about the energy types in different parts of human design. Welcome, Jen.
Hello, Mistral. So excited to talk about our lunar beings
Our
today.
lunar beings and our lunar beings, they're so special because what is the percent amount of reflectors? 1% in the whole world, which is still like hundreds of thousands of people, but in the whole world, it's really small amount. And so in a world where we're conditioned to, work a 9 to 5 and show up in a way that society asks us to show up, a lunar being can really struggle with this. A reflector can really struggle with this, but they have such a special mission and way to be here in the world. So let's talk a little bit about, what the energy type of a reflector actually is and what that means for a reflector. So, you know, my understanding is that reflectors, I mean, they're called reflectors because they're this mirror, right? And they just sort of mirror back to the world what is happening around them, which can be challenging, but also a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, and because of their unique design, right? All nine of their centers are open. Their entire chart is white, and that's what makes them a reflector. They have no definition, no fixed, reliable energy. So as the moon shifts, pulling that energy, certainly felt it the other day with the full moon, right? Like, ooh, it was a lot of energy for me. So reflectors are so sensitive to those lunar changes throughout the 20 days of that lunar cycle. So without that fixed reliable energy, I'm so blessed to know many reflectors in my life. So anyone watching live the recording, let us know, like, do you know a reflector? Because they are the unicorns. And so many reflectors are living out of alignment, that shadow not self theme of disappointment, right? Because they're conditioned, they have to do more, they have to prove themselves, right? The not self theme of all nine centers, they really need to be mindful of so that they can stay in their signature theme of surprise and delight. So it's just so unique to witness them and how they navigate life in such a unique way.
And one thing that I want to add to that is just, it's important for people listening to this that, it doesn't mean that there's no energy type that's better or worse, right? It's just how we utilize that energy and allow it to flow through our body in order to be our most successful selves. And one thing that is beautiful about the reflectors, like I said before, is that mirror, right? Being able to
Mhm.
mirror back onto us where we aren't being our most authentic selves so that we can also step into our power as well, which is a beautiful gift for them to be able to give the world and other people who are in their lives.
Right. And the reflector aura is so unique because of their openness. They're constantly sampling the energies around them. So if they're not in a conducive environment, right? Like if they really need to be in nature and free or work alone and they're stuck in an office in a group corporate setting, like that is just going to drain them. They're going to feel so disappointed. They're going to feel so burnt out because they're just constantly absorbing that energy around them. And if they're holding on to it, mistaking it as theirs, or trying to function as a generator, because we do still live in a generator society, it's just really hard to witness that. So when reflectors can be aware of their sampling aura and find skills to release that energy and to just reflect that energy back, not hold on to it, that's where they can offer such beautiful, beautiful wisdom to the world.
Yeah, and just some examples of what that means, right? To hold on to someone else's energy, right? So Jen and I have done a live before where we've commented about certain areas that we have open and how we might love, for example, being working in a busy coffee shop. However, as we're sitting there working, we might suddenly get some anxiety, right? That pops into, like, say, an open center of ours. Like my heart is open. And so sometimes I have this big heart center feeling of not being worthy or not being, even though I'm in a space, I'm feeling worthy myself, but it's that energy of maybe somebody who walked past me or a collective group of people who walked past me that I can feel their energy. And so that's almost like an example of the sampling of a reflector if they're constantly surrounded by people, whether it's at school or in their work environment or at a coffee shop or at the beach or wherever it is that they are, they're sampling that energy and could be feeling things that aren't really theirs.
Right. And so I'm a conscious reflector. So I am very aware of this when I shake someone's hand. And I've had to build up a boundary to be really mindful of who I do come into physical contact with. Because when I meet someone and I shake their hand, I'm instantly sampling their energy and it can be overwhelming for me, and then I'm kind of lost in their energy and these feelings that I'm feeling rather than being present, right? Because I'm not a reflector, I'm a projector, but that is how I understand reflectors, because it's that personal contact and just an overflow of their energy. Like I have difficulties when I go out into stores, right? Because I feel people's energy are driving, like there's a lot of negativity. So I have to constantly remind myself, this is not my energy to hold on to. How can I release this? Because I do not want to hold on to all that.
No, and no does anybody. So we'll talk about the releasing in just a moment, but I feel like that's kind of a superpower. Like when you shake somebody's hand, you can instantly tell if they're feeling insecure, overbearing, overpowering, or any other sort of feeling that comes in. That to me feels like a little bit of a superpower if you're, say, going for a job interview and you're shaking your potential boss's hand, or you're going to meet up maybe with somebody who you haven't met before for a coffee connection, and you can kind of understand who they are.
Yeah, and that's kind of the power of the undefined spleen, right? Is knowing the well-being of those around you. So if you're sampling your environment and getting that sense through an undefined spleen of someone's well-being, absolutely. All of the reflectors that I know, three that I can think of off the top of my head, are all in helping professions. They really mirror energy back to help guide people in a specific way. One helps in books, one helps in posture, and the other one helps in kind of like energy management of like how to live your true lifestyle, I guess I can say.
Oh, amazing. And I have that beautiful gift to be able to really understand what that person is feeling, what they're experiencing, and reflect that back so that that person can then think about that and either take that, leave it, or learn how to release it themselves to kind of step into their most authentic self. Like, sounds like a pretty powerful superpower, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot easier for reflectors to work in the present, right? They don't need to wait 28 days for that. It's more
Mhm.
waiting the 28 days for themselves. How am I feeling, right? It's almost like an extended emotional authority. If anyone watching has watched Mistral and I talk about our emotional authorities and how we have to sleep on it and we need to ride our wave, it's very similar to the reflector. It's just 28 days. So it's much longer to navigate that energy and to keep checking in about where you're looking for guidance or making that decision, because the waiting 28 days is not only their authority, but it's also part of that strategy too, right?
Yeah, and I love that we're talking about this because I feel like in society we're taught to make decisions quickly, right? Like in
Oh
a
yeah.
like let's say in business, oh, I need this by tomorrow at noon, or I need this by a certain time, or it might be that you're purchasing, if you're a business owner, you might be wanting to purchase a course or some kind of group coaching. And that can be really hard if they're only giving you 72 hours to think about this decision and it's a significant amount of money that you're investing. I mean, how would you, well, how would we guide a reflector through that? Because that can be really challenging. And in most cases, it's probably just not for them because they're not going to want to feel that disappointment. And probably as soon as they make the decision, they're going to know straight away. They're going to feel that disappointment straight away. So maybe there's time for them to back out in
Right.
that case. But it's also understanding how to read your body and understand, like, is that disappointment or is that a little bit of fear, or is, what is that emotion? And that's something that, we all need time to understand and learn about our own bodies.
Right. Part of it is having both undefined pressure centers, right?
Right.
The undefined crown, the undefined root, which like that external pressure just like really bodes down on you. So, right, how to create space in your decision making. And kind of to answer your question of business, what I've seen one reflector do is make sure that her team, those that she works with, not only understand the basics of human design, but understand her unique design as a reflector to say,
Mm.
hey, you can ask things of me the next day or in the moment. Please honor that I need 28 days to navigate this. Like, let's book this in the calendar for next month to check in on. Or we can do weekly check ins to see how I'm still navigating this, right? Because the true strategy for the reflector is to, yes, wait a lunar cycle, but wait for the answers to reveal themselves. Wait to get that surprise to say, whoa, here is the answer. I feel it certain in my body. I'm ready to make that decision, right? It's not that hard 28 days. It's just navigating all the energies that shift throughout those 28 days. Or if you're working with your period, like we do inside Planning by Design, perhaps that's the cycle that you're navigating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's important is to understand all the different cycles, but also understand, especially as someone who has all of these open centers, that if you are on a call with somebody who is an employee or a boss or a salesperson, you're absorbing their energy and taking that in. And it's so easy to be able to make a decision if they're pushing you to make, I shouldn't say it's so easy to make a decision, more like they can be pushing you to make a decision. And it can be so easy to say yes, okay, or whatever in the
Yes.
moment because you're riding on that energy of them versus your own authority and understanding of what your needs are.
And I love that you said that, Mistral, because I actually had to reflect on this last week. Again, being a conscious reflector, I noticed how I was in a shop looking and it was a knitting store, right? What is my next project? What do I want to make? What color do I want? All these decisions that I had to make. And I kept noticing how I was feeling pressured and really overwhelmed. And once I got out of the store back into the car, I was like, what the heck just happened to me? Like, did I make the right decision? Do I actually want to knit this? Is this color even going to look good on me? So I had to like go through everything and I was like, why am I feeling like this? And I was like, oh, not only was I in that shop with family, it was the shop owner who probably is a manifesting generator. There were also a group of women in the back sitting for like a knitting circle. They were chatting. We had no interaction with them, but all of that bustling energy in the shop that I was just absorbing was like, and we have to get out of here and I have to make this decision now. And it's an investment for anybody who knits. Like a project in knitting a sweater is it's a commitment. So it was just really interesting. And I was so grateful to know that I was a conscious reflector, to understand that I was sampling that energy. No wonder I was disappointed. And to really sit with, do I need to return that, right? Is this a mistake that I need to go and correct? Or how can I be okay with this and embrace perhaps the surprise and delight? And when I do finish that sweater, I'll wear it one day for our lives so that I can show it to everybody. Because maybe I will be delighted by like, wow, this is the best thing I own.
Oh, that would be a delight, wouldn't it?
Right.
So you talk about, I know you're a projector, but you're talking about this conscious reflector. How can people, because we may have people watching who aren't reflectors themselves, or maybe their partners are a reflector, but maybe they do have some kind of this unconscious reflector within them. How do people find out about that?
Yeah. So anybody watching, feel free to send me, DM me a screenshot of your chart, and it's easy enough for me to look at it, and I can tell you whether you're conscious or unconscious reflector. Again, this is something that we talk about inside our monthly membership of Planning by Design. So super easy to hop into that for 22 a month. So many resources. But many places that you can get your chart will factor that out. I don't know of any specifically, but I know people talk about genetic matrix, geneticmatrix.com. If you pull your chart from there, you might be able to see your conscious design and your unconscious design. Actually, it would be your conscious personality, everything just on the right, everything just in black, versus your unconscious, the body, that other color on the chart that creates that specific design that are separate. And then together they create your quantum design, your design that, typically we talk about.
Sounds way easier just to DM you, I think.
I would say so, and I'm more than happy to answer that. So DM me a picture of your chart and say conscious question mark, and I will know what to respond to you with.
Amazing, amazing. So just to summarize everything that we've spoken about so that people can kind of leave with this real understanding if they're a reflector, what they should be looking for. And of course, if you need more information, you should definitely hit up Jen for a reading. I do readings mostly from the business side. So if you're looking more for something like the, life coaching, understanding the deconditioning that you need to kind of go through as a reflector, Jen is your lady for sure. And then of course, like we mentioned, Planning by Design is our monthly membership where we talk about all these things and really help women in business understand how to run their business from their best aligned self through managing these energy cycles that affect us both internally and externally. And so, we talked a lot about the aura, the strategy of a reflector today, the self and the not self theme. And those are some things to really remember. So Jen, why don't you summarize it for us? Because you always say it so eloquently and
Yes. So the reflector has that sampling aura, right? Always sampling the environment. The strategy being to wait that 28 days or for those answers to be revealed to yourself. Their authority, how they make decisions, is riding that energy over 28 days to have that clarity. And then we have the self, not self spectrum, as I call it, that not self of disappointment when you're out of alignment, when you check in, am I following my strategy and authority? To how you can find alignment in that surprise and delight. That's what you get to live life with.
yeah, and being in surprise and delight every day sounds so much better than disappointment. So let's get you aligned and working in life the way that you're meant to be if you are a reflector or any other energy type for that matter. That's our goal in Planning by Design. And we'll be back live next Monday. We're switching it up now. Hey, we've gone through all the energy types. So we're actually going to be talking about how to interact, like how to find the right business partner. So Jen and I are business partners. We work so well together because of my manifesting generator energy and Jen's projector energy coming together with our different centers that are defined and undefined. And so we'll be talking a little bit about that and how to sort of blend it together and how to find people that you'll really work well with, whether you're hiring staff or whether you're just looking for a biz bestie to join forces with.
Right. Absolutely. I can't wait for that conversation next week.
It'll be a good one.
Yay.
All right, everyone.
Bye. See you next